I've lived in Korea for a total of 12 years. I'm American. I haven't lived in America for almost 18 years. And so I've lived in many different countries. Is anyone here from Bulgaria? My wife's Bulgarian, actually. I lived 2 years in Bulgaria. I lived there for 2 years. We married about 6 years ago. She came here. We have 2 daughters now. So.
You can talk to Bulgarian then.
But in fact, I go back once a year. My family goes back, and I go back with them every time and visit. So I feel very close to Bulgaria, Eastern Europe in general. So it's a pleasure to have you here. Please ask any question. This is semiconductor. I know that maybe it sounds like some of you might have some technical background. Is that correct? Most of you have, at least with radios, right? So, but there's still semiconductor in itself. Not our business, our company can be a bit dry. So it's just the nature of the industry. So if any questions about Samsung, Korea, general, anything you'd like to ask, there's no, well, there's a time limit, but there's no limit to any type of question you'd like to ask about my experience working at Samsung itself, semiconductor, anything. Please feel free to ask. So I'll begin now.
Would like to know how
Yes.
you the R&D.
That's what I was worried about. So we have I'll go into a little bit detail. We have different divisions in our system MSI division. But frankly, since I'm not an engineer, I work in the PR department. I've been explaining. I've done HR team, and inside the HR, human resources, there's public relations. This is part of my job, a smaller part of it, but we do a lot of the PR work with our products and technology for selling in the world for our products. That's more of my work is based on this, but I do handle these sort of public relations visits too sometimes. But I'm afraid I can't give you a lot of detail.
I just would like to know that before you get to help R&D on some things, what is the idea that click? We should do something like this one or that one, or improve this with this, something like that.
Well, usually for memory, and we have 2 major divisions, memory and system MSI. Memory is something that we've been the leader in for quite a long time. So basically our R&D is just sort of improving on what we are number 1 in general. Then there's what we call non-memory, or the system LSI division, that's logic. And that is based on what areas we feel we have most chance to succeed in, and then we concentrate on our R&D. Most R&D for Samsung Semiconductor is done in Korea. We have very large billions we invest every year in R&D. So for the system LSI or non-memory, we focus on certain target areas. And I'll show you that in the presentation. For memory, which we are number 1, the memory chips, we basically increasing the node, actually the amount of bits per wafer. That is what we focus on R&D. Okay, so I will, please, anything that's a good question, very good question. So next, please. Next. So this is just a little, actually this is the way Samsung and actually Korea looks at the semiconductor industry. We are number 1 in memory. If you don't know the memory chips, the storage chips. We're in all these areas you see right here, DRAM, SRAM, and flash memory. And then for logic, which we sometimes call non-memory. The reason we call it non-memory is 90% of our business, almost 90% of our business is in this area. And actually for Korea in itself, the semiconductor industry, the major focus is on here. So we kind of lump everything together in this area here, but this is this particular area is almost 80% of the revenue of semiconductor. So it's not an insignificant area. And this is where we'll be focusing a lot of our attention on in the future. We do have a large division that works in this particular area here. We are not, we are strong in certain areas, not so strong in other areas. I'll try to go into more detail about that. Next, please. Just to give you a little bit of some of the characteristics of the semiconductor industry. This is specifically for memory. Memory is more of a commodity, if you don't know. There's 2 major areas of memory, are NAND flash and DRAM that we produce. And timing is most important. When you come out with a product first, that is when you make the money. Now, the semiconductor industry is a very low end. If you don't know that, there's oversupply. For the last almost 2 years, a year and a half, it's been very depressed for the memory area right now. So these kind of rules now don't work as well when the whole memory industry in itself is depressed because the prices are so low. But generally, when you first come out with a chip that's at the beginning of its generation, that is when you make most of the profit. And afterwards, you try to increase the yield, be able to get as much as you can, but the margin shrinks significantly. So this is how it's worked traditionally for the memory industry. It's very expensive now. This, on average, is for a fully automated 12-inch, 300-millimeter line. Cost about $4 billion. There's very few companies in the world that can do. Intel and Samsung are the only one that can actually afford their own fabs now without any partnerships. We have a similarity in Intel, even though we make very different products, except for NAND flash. We also, well, we finance from many different sources, but we independently make our own fabs, our fabrication facilities. That's what I mean by fab, what we call it. It's a lot of, especially in the production aspect for memory, we have a lot of different technicians, a lot of different people from different areas. And a lot of this focus in this, you see right here, material science, physics, is how to increase yield. You have a fab, you have a wafer, you have a certain amount of chips that you can get per wafer. So the only way really you can increase your profits is to get as many of the chips to work. And yields never are 100%. It's never been, well, maybe there's been cases of it, but most cases the yield can get 90% over, meaning 90% of the chips to work on a wafer. That's very good. Many things can affect yield. Yield is a secret for any company, but how to improve yields, how to keep yields up. One day of a lower yields can mean millions of dollars. So a lot of focus for memory is on that. We have a lot of people who invest, and then specifically we have many fabs. We have 16 fabs altogether, 16 fabrication facilities. So you can see the importance in increasing yield for so this is state-of-the-art technology, constantly trying to squeak higher yields. It is very important, and it's very clean. Fortunately, there's too many of you to go into the fabs. You couldn't actually go into the fabs and suit up. That would take weeks to do all of you, because you've never been in a fab before. That takes about a half hour per person to suit you up. But we have windows where you can see a little bit, but basically there's machines now. It's not a lot to see in the fabs, but it's very, very clean. About 1,000 times cleaner than a surgical operating room at the cleanest part of the fab itself. So it's very, very important to keep clean. Contamination is one of the major causes of low yields. So if you think the semiconductor, everything is depending on yield, so that's very, very important. Bad weather, many things can influence this. Just the region itself, this is a good region. Well, we hope it is if we have so many fabs, but that can affect yield too. Next, please. Next. So we have two major divisions. We have memory and system LSI. As I mentioned, memory, these are the major areas we have here. Fusion meaning combination of different chips from system LSI and memory into one area. MCP means multi-chip packaging. And this is about 85 to 90% of our sales are based on this. Then we have system LSI, and these are the major areas for that. ASIC foundry is basically when we make other people's chips. They give us the design, we produce them for them. Consumer LSI specifically for mobile hand products. EDI, display driver, IC is, for example, the monitors you see here, the driver that gives you the image. Specifically, a very important market for us is the mobile phone and the large flat panel TV. We are number one in that area, too, for system LSI. Storage is the hard disk. We are one of, maybe, I don't know, Samsung is not, fortunately, number one in that area. Seagate is digital. But we are also a major producer of hard disks. Now, hard disk drives do not really fit in with this, other than the fact they have the same function that they store memory. But the problem is that they're very, very competitive right now. The smaller, for example, notebook PCs, very soon they'll be, right now there's a drive made of flash memory that can replace the hard drive.